It could have been budgeted, it could have been passed without a bid process and then approved by
Right,
the council.
sure,
So you'd have an
exactly.
opportunity to
Okay,
decide.
sure.
That's part of the internal controls process that was referenced during the audit. You have a purchasing policy.
And at this point, it's also part of the number that was built to be maximums.
Okay, good.
And even if it stays in the budget, after we do the KDOT study and after we do the downtown study,
Right.
we might decide that
Right.
that's not the best way to go.
Well,
But if that is the direction that we're going, then at least we still have the
I was gonna
opportunity.
bring it up then, but then we kinda, we got
Yeah.
stopped and started, and I was like, I wanted to say it now, and I was thinking about it.
That's back to evaluation and monitoring and adjusting.
Absolutely, okay.
Okay, so what has been handed out is, during my presentation, we discussed that staff needed further input for the merit and a COLA for other representations at your direction. Basically, this is about the high-performance organization. So what I've handed out to you is what happened in 2014. How we arrived at that 2014 estimate was the analysis of the 5-year trend. And then we gave you, we offered a number and you concurred. So there was a number built into the 2014 budget. So, and in order to implement that budget, you passed a change to your personnel policy that's referenced here as a follow-up to the adoption of the budget. Those are those housekeeping items we walked through. This was one of them, because it was a change in how you did it. And in that personnel policy decision change, we talked about what scores were eligible for merit and how they would be implemented. And I would draw your attention to the second sentence in the first paragraph that says, merit increases are granted based on the employee's performance evaluation. However, the performance evaluation may or may not result in a merit increase depending upon performance and available budgetary resources. So, the number of employees at the end of their 2013 evaluation, so those for the 2014 budget pool, you recall during last year's discussion I said the 12-year historical trend is 12, on average, 12 employees. We rounded it up to 15. When the results came in, we had more than double the amount of employees eligible by the scoring for merit, which obviously exceeded your merit pool. So, consequently, staff is asking for governing body's consensus direction for the 2015 merit pool budget. Do you want to raise the eligibility score? And we'll discuss that in a minute because we're going to a 5-point scale and I've got comparisons. Or do you want to allocate more funding? Or C, something else that you'll discuss among yourselves? So that's where we're going with this. So I will stand for something to give me something to start with on direction, or would you like me to start what a 5-point scale comparison would be? I can do that. Okay.
Why don't you do
Okay,
that?
so let me start you with that then. So right now, under your current personnel policy, only employees who have been here longer than a year and who score 2.76 or above on a 3-point scale are eligible for merit. Nobody else. So the equivalent of that, because we're going to a 5-point scale this year in our evaluation process, the equivalent score on a 5-point scale is, hold on, I've got it, 4.6 and above. So what that represents, 2.76 on a 3-point scale means you have to score a 92 on the scale. So a 92 on a 5-point scale is 4.6. So what we ended up paying out was 93, because that's all the money you had. So a 93 on a 5-point scale is 4.65. Anything below that would not be eligible if we equivalent to this scale.
Was there any?
You have a look.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, I was just gonna say, that's assuming that we don't want to use the tiered approach.
That's.
And that is option C
My
that
personal
you're coming up
opinion,
with.
Yeah, is you use
Okay.
the tiered approach.
Sliding scale, which is
Okay.
kind of what I thought of a pit, when we were talking about PIP last year. I was
Well-
hoping that we would implement a sliding scale.
The policy you passed did not
That's correct.
allow for our tiering. But that was our first try.
Yeah.
So, that was our first estimate, based on a 5-year historical average and inflated a little.
Yeah.
So, okay, so what would you like to know? How can I help you with this?
Lori, can you tell us, I know in 2014, we had a COLA increase.
We did 3%.
Right. Years prior, I can't remember when that was reinstated, if last year, was the first year after a long hiatus?
I
or-
think it was. So we
And
went.
how long had that been? Do you
4
have-
years.
4 years.
So that kind of plays into your high performance thing too. We didn't really have, so not only did we not have COLA, but you also didn't have merit for the most part during those 4 years, so
That's,
it's a pretty big gap.
yeah. I mean, there's 3 components to compensation adjustments in most businesses that are out there. The first is the COLA adjustment, CPI driven. The second one is, well, it should be CPI.
Yeah.
The second one is market, making sure that your salaries are somewhere in the market range for your area. And the third one is merit. And high-performing organizations have either departmental merit or a individual merit component to their salary structure. Now, you can mix and match however you want. But without those 3, it's awfully difficult to be able to reward, first of all, individual initiative, and second of all, to be able to keep your salaries competitive. So, I mean, and those are 3 separate discussions to me. I think they need to be taken in isolation. I don't think that you necessarily, I mean, COLA is COLA. I mean, that pretty much speaks for itself. You've got a CPI. You may go CPI plus because of the fact I think we understand CPI numbers are, I'm not gonna say
National versus
fictional.
local.
I'm not gonna say fictional, but
Right.
they're underestimated, okay? And then you've got your market and merit pieces. And, we're talking merit here.
You're talking merit and COLA.
Yes, but COLA, again, is CPI driven, so really, you almost have to take that out of the equation and say, okay, well, if you've got a 1.5 COLA, all right, you say, okay, well, we're gonna build in a 2 for the COLA adjustment, because that just keeps you treading water, basically. Then you got the second piece, which is the merit piece, which, if you want to, reward individual initiative and performance, that's your mechanism to do so. And then, of course, you've got the market piece, which we know what the situation is with market. So, I think that when we take merit, we got to take it in isolation, understanding that COLA's got to be involved in the discussion as well. But you almost have to separate the 2, because, I think even individuals who are not necessarily high performers still, the COLA adjustment still needs to be there just to keep them, from being backwards.
So I guess you're looking for from us.
I'm looking for policy
funding
direction.
and tiering, and does staff have recommendations for us on how we can handle the tiering, number 1, and then based on what we paid out last year, and what we fell short, perhaps, what the merit pool ought to be this year. Cheryl? You
Yes.
look like you're considering.
Yes, we have,
You
yes.
look like you're considering.
Yes, we have, we did look at the numbers last year. If we, had enough money to cover all of the employees and we tiered it, we would have needed an additional $13,000 to tier it for the 4% for your high performers, and then half of that high performers, and then half of that for those that were
4.69.
2.76 to 2.78.
right. So 4 and 2 if you tiered. So we didn't have enough. We would have needed another $13,000.
Mhm.
If you want to put in place a tiering this year, which I think I'm hearing that we want to go with tiering, then we need a decision on, are you using 92 as your number, which is what we adopted last year? Or are you going to lower that number and say, if you score 80%, you can get something? Because the question here is, okay, how high do they need to score
To get what?
to get an increase? Last year, we adopted 2.76, which was 92. So if you tell us to translate that, then the number would be 92.
Which
And
is
they would.
4.6.
They would need to score 4.6